Good morning. Fabian Onetti for Winston Capital. We're going to cover the week of October 15 through the 19th. And what we have to do, a lot of emerging markets coverage, a big article on Barron's and some other notes that we take. We took some news on Apple new products. Sobering news, Italy and Portugal, one up, the other down. We'll talk about that. The Fed minutes were plenty of data when they raised rates on September 25th. We'll talk about that and a little bit about the housing market that's been suffering a lot. More news on the new second headquarters of Amazon comments there. Some of the companies that reported last week, like the banks, Netflix, we're going to talk about that, and also which one reporting this week. We are in the middle of the season, and Uber and Lyft announced it. They are going for an IPO, so we'll talk about that. But let's start with emerging markets. A lot of notes and articles on that. The Chinese market is down 22% year to date. The renminbi is at 7, a critical level. And there were, a lot of comments. There was a good piece on Barron's about that. Nothing that we haven't discussed here. On one side, China is not only suffering a slowdown, but also this whole issue with, threats of on an escalating trade war with the United States. We are now at 10% tariff. It will go to 25% in 2019, and we still don't have a clear resolution of the problem. So, clearly all the markets are surrounding Chinese effects are down. So we'll see what happens. There is a lot of value. One of the good trades that, Ruchir Sharma from Morgan Stanley recommended is since the EEM, the main traded emerging market index, is very heavy on Chinese, Korea, and Taiwan. He would say, I would basically sell short the names like Alibaba, Tencent, whatever, and buy the other subjacent emerging market. He says, things like Turkey, Philippines are 1% of the index. Brazil is a little bit over, 3-4%. So you're not really participating in the broad emerging markets with EEM. So I think that's, it's tricky to play, but it's a possibility. The other thing that we discussed here many times is EM, a different index that is built around, a top-down. It's sort of an actively managed index. So that could work because it's a selection of, 10 or 15 top markets with sort of equal weight based on some macroeconomic trends. So along those lines, HSBC will be the first company that will get listed in China through the Stock Connect in Hong Kong. And also, there was some news on Pemex that it went from stable to negative. Pemex is the largest debtor in Mexico with $77 billion in debt. And, it can go from B minus, very low in the junk, to triple C. So we'll see President-elect AMLO talk about using some central bank reserves to help Pemex. That would be a serious issue. We'll see. But, there was some noise there. October 30, Apple will announce new products basically on the iPad, on the MacBook. So we'll be looking into that. Let's go to the sovereigns for a second. Last week, Italy was downgraded for Baa2 to Baa3, so basically one notch above junk. It was not a surprise, but expected that, the credit agencies are saying that the way they're managing the budget and, not curtailing it is not very positive. On the other hand, Portugal got upgraded from junk to investment grade on the opposite, reining expenses, control of the deficit, and actually it's now having a very healthy economy. So, one for one for the other. More rumors on the Amazon second headquarters. Remember, this is a big thing. Amazon is going to go for a second headquarters. About 200 cities commented. Apparently, there is a short list of 20. They will make the announcement by year end. And it looks like, according to some research and intelligence and spying, these are the cities that could be New York, Newark, Chicago, Miami, or Washington, D.C. It looks like one of these ones will be the winner for the thing. We had a lot of reporting by the banks. They all reported better numbers, in general, but the market didn't buy it. I mean, as I say, they have had a tough time, and despite higher rates, people are not seeing a lot of interest in the banks. They're still very under-leveraged. They're very regulated. They're not lending the way they should or they could. and basically they are surviving on some capital market activity that is not soup. So no one is really interested for now in the bank. The big highlight of the week was Netflix, that after missing one quarter, last quarter it reported much better subscriber growth, almost 7 million, 6.96. The market was expecting 5. So big number. The stock rallied 12% in the aftermarket. Then it calmed down with the overall market falling. But we like it. We like it a lot. We will buy the stocks outright or take advantage of some volatility and sell some short-term puts, or buy the stock and sell some, 90-day calls. That's what we think it's a good idea. Then we had the minutes of the Fed, and when they moved rates on September 25th, and that kind of created that the market corrected a little bit. The long bond went from 315 to 320. The main thing there was that the Fed sees a very healthy economy growing very fast. So it keeps their view of being on autopilot on an aggressive interest rate raises. And it's already hitting the mortgage market. Mortgages are above 5%. The housing market in America, second home sales are down 4% year to year in September. All the home builders are down for the year. Anything related to housing is down for the year. So this raise in rates is, feeling in the housing market, which, as you know, is one of the largest sectors in the country. So that's part of the market not doing so great. There are some sectors like REITs, housing, anything that's very interest rate sensitive has been suffering a lot. And have the 3-month T-bill with above 10% yield, so it has positive real rates. Obviously, the 10-year at 3.25. So the cash is not zero anymore. So it's putting a little bit of a headwind to the market. So I think it will here to stay, and that was part of the reaction that we saw this week. We saw the parting of Paul Allen, the co-founder of Microsoft, one of the greatest guys of the last century, creator of one of the best companies ever. Sad to see him die. And then looked like it's going to be a very entertaining that Lyft and Uber both announced they're going to do IPO Q1 of next year. They're fighting to see who's first. We will see more of the numbers of the companies, more of the evaluation, how they make money, where they operate. I think this will be very, very interesting. Obviously, all the top banks are fighting and being the leading on one of these, which will be one of the largest IPOs in many years, again, for these two companies. And finally, who's reporting this week? On Tuesday, we have McDonald's. On Wednesday, you have AT&T, Boeing, Ford, and Microsoft, one of the winners of the